to replace volunteers.
If you think about it, we're still from 5 o'clock in the afternoon to 7 o'clock the next morning, or 8 o'clock the next morning, all weekend, every weekend. We're 100% volunteer. And the run numbers during those times are still staying pretty considerable, 5 or 6 times a weekend. Last couple of weekends seems like that's pretty high demand on the volunteers. So what we're trying to do is give them some relief during the week. And some of those things that we get dirty or that we need a little TLC after we use them over the weekend, getting equipment ready again for the next weekend. Some of our, especially our river type calls are considerably heavy on the weekend. That's the kind of stuff we try to accomplish all week, as well as all our reporting, testing, maintenance of hoses, pumps, trucks, pre-fire plants, all that kind of thing.
So basically, they're paid for 2 years, and we're obligated for 1, and then we can do whatever the council chooses to do in the 4th year. Is that a clear statement?
It's 2 and 1.
Okay.
It's 2 and 1. We're in the 3rd year, yes, and at the 4th year, it'd be the council's discretion to continue it or whatever.
I think it's a safe bet to go with, see what happens. And had we had a tornado in this city, it would be pretty rough on the volunteers to keep a few people around 24 hours a day on the scene.
I think I also saw where Tallahassee got a very similar grant in the process of adding some personnel. So, you know, if you look at the point we all are in the city where the growth is, the call volume, the traffic counts, that kind of thing, it's getting to where that I think we all need that. And I think Millbrook's had it for several years, so you know, I think we're right on track with the industry standard or standard operating procedures other places too.
How did the SAFER grant that Tallahassee got that's supposed to be divided among the county, how is that going to affect us? How much do we get?
I don't know of one that they got that was divided among the county, and there's one that the Elmore County Firefighters Association got for recruitment and retention.
Yeah, but Tallahassee got it. Or at least that's what the Tallahassee Tribune reported, that they got the $300,000 grant, and it's to be split among the volunteer fire departments.
Is it safe for recruitment and retention?
And training. So how's that going to help us with our training?
That, our name's not on that grant. The Elmore County Firefighters Association received a grant. That's the only other one that we would be obliged to share in.
Okay, so this is not right.
From what I've heard, the one Tallahassee got was for staffing. The one the county got was for recruitment and retention, which pays our a supplemental on our one of our insurance. I think a life insurance policy is added, and then of course we have the countywide training consortium kind of thing.
Because this says for our 20 fire departments in Elmore County will benefit from the federal SAFER grant awarded to Tallahassee Fire Department, because they're going to be now hosting the Alabama Fire College on the weekend.
They have a training facility over there, and but
we're not going to participate.
We're going to participate in the county-wide. They are now hosting some training workshops, and certainly if they're hosting training, and that's the closest place we can get it, we're certainly going to take advantage of that. We have utilized their facility a couple of times.
Because they have one on the 21st.
Yes, that's like a fire college weekend type deal. It's mainly, most of your classes are 40 hours or more. Those are 8, 12, and 16-hour classes. There are some that we could get. Most of them are things that we've already gotten with most of our folks, technical rescue, rope rescue, that type of thing. So, but yeah, I know what you're talking about there. That's with their training facility. I think there's also a push for the facility up here on Red Eagle Drive that the city generously contributed the land, I think, all the way back to do a similar thing there. So there are a lot of good partnerships in the county, but the safer, the Highland one is one I thought you were talking about.
Mayor, I've got a couple of questions for the chief, if I may. When were we first notified that we had received this grant?
It's been a lot of correspondence on it. I don't know for sure when we were notified. I know that the performance period begins June 5th. There's a 90-day window between when they approve you and when you start. But we've had to do one supplemental thing, so the award was held off on I can't remember the name of the form, but the official notification would be somewhere within the last 90 days.
Second question, in this particular grant, could these monies not be used to reimburse the city for personnel that's already been hired?
No. It was, you cannot, if you have laid off firefighters, or if you've cut back on firefighters, but anybody that was in place at the time that you got your grant award, you cannot go back and pay those people from this money.
Somehow I was misinformed. I thought that if we went ahead and hired personnel, that if we received this grant, that somehow those monies could transfer, but that must have just been either my imagination or
Now,
that's the way I'd like for it to be, but.
well, and we sort of kept, last year, we sort of basically put the whole thing on hold, and then we didn't get the grant. And then we did the grant again this year, and we just kept waiting, and eventually, I think we went ahead and moved and hired the two that we've got now. And then it was after, as far as the timeline goes, I know it was after that, because that would have been my first thought, was to just.
Because there was a lot going on at one time, I remember that. So out of the personnel that was hired, that's coming out of the city's funds, there's just two people, two full-time people?
We staff them, 2 people there, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday.
For a total of how many? How many people do you have working for the department?
There are 2, 4, 6, 7 that have been hired to cover those part-time positions. 7 positions, 7 people fill the 90 hours a week, I think it is.
Would this be structured the same way, or would it be just strictly for two people?
It would be the same way.
So we would have potentially a total of 14 part-time.
You will actually wind up with 15.
Okay.
They would mesh together, and you'll have 5 people to cover a shift of 4. So, and you would rotate through, and every 5th day, you would be your off day. Every 5th shift, I'm sorry. So every 15 days, you would miss a day, and then you start back up from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you'd be out. It's,
And you've got a database of qualified firefighters that could fill that many positions?
we have an open register left from the first one. We still continue to get applications. I've had 30, right at 30 apply. We pulled 7 out of that already, and I got another one Friday, so we would look at whatever applications we've got there at the time and try to find the rest of them out of there.
So virtually, we would have 15 people staffed over Monday through Friday from 7 to 5.
No, sir.
Over the course of a week, would all
Yes,
15 of them work?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Some 7 to 5, some 8 to 5,
But all 15 of them would work in a 5-day period?
That's right.
Would
And
it
it would
be
put 4
rotated?
people there at a time.
Okay, I guess that's what I was getting at, how
Yes,
many would be there in the shift?
And then you add myself in there as full-time, too, so that get the total workforce, then you add the volunteers in.